The size was equal, the price was equal. And I said, this is an experiment. I want full transparency. I'm putting labels. Oh my God. I put labels with the price. And even when a piece was sold, I put that little red pin in it. And I knew this was very déclassé and not like what I was accustomed to, my people were accustomed to. But I was like, we're going to do this. And Good Mother was
why is that déclassé?
Well, you go into the white cubes. Nobody does that.
Nobody does that.
Nobody does it.
I guess when I think of François Ballet, they don't. Yeah.
Nobody does it. And it's exclusionary. It's elitist. Basically, what they want you to do, first of all, they're sizing you up. How real are you? Are you real enough to do that, walk of shame to the receptionist? Oh, can I have a price list?
Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Leslie Fram. Leslie, we were talking. I know about you because you invited me to an event at Spy Projects. Right. And you come well recommended by Tyler Parks. He had nice things to say about you, but I really am not sure.
I love that.
Where you fit in.
Well, it's interesting because I know a lot about you because I'm such a fan of your podcast.
Well, thank you. When you said you listen to every episode,
I do.
My first reaction was skepticism, and then my second one was like, ugh, she's listened to all of them.
No, I do. And I look forward to them. And not only that, you've had, because I briefly mentioned, I have this annual MFAs of LA exhibition. You've had a lot of my MFAs on your show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like who?
Well, Elias Hernandez, Kadir, so that was Roski, that was Otis. There are some other ones, but those are the most recent ones.
And they were in the show?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, so, okay, how would, if you were to give yourself a title, what would it be? Like, because I've heard collector.
Yeah, I come into the art world as an artist, I'd say a collector, this is historically speaking, a curator, and a marketer, and an entrepreneur.
Oh my God.
And an educator.
Maybe
I teach
you can
now.
help me get this show off the
Well, I was going to ask you, do you have sponsors?
No, I don't.
You should.
Well, it's still a very small show, so.
Okay. I want to talk to you about that. We could do it on air or.
Well, I'm not really that worried about it being public, but but I don't want to take time away from you.
Okay.
And from people getting to know you. So, okay, next question is origin stories if you listen regularly.
Yes.
So where are you from originally? Are you California native?
No, I'm from New York City.
Okay.
I grew up, my dad was a doctor.
Okay.
And he used to do these ready-mades. This is my art origin story. And he would never, of course, call them ready-mades because he had no sense of art history. But they would be plotted throughout the house. So like a coffee table, for instance, was a car engine. He built in the living room an electrical outlet. And the gears rotating, he had colored bulbs and a glass table, so that it would be like this light prism show going on.
Oh, wow.
So he had that sensibility, although he was very much a straight guy. And I grew up, as I briefly mentioned, I was a ballet dancer. And so since I was very young, there's a school called the School of American Ballet. I danced with the New York City Ballet under George Balanchine. And as you probably know, ballet is about beauty. Mm-hmm. And it encompasses all the arts in the best sense. So it's costumes, it's scenery, it's music, it's dance, sometimes opera. So I have a very New York City, Greenwich Village background in ballet. But I was thinking about this because I did know your initial question. Simultaneous to being a ballet dancer I was going to Studio 54 as a very young person.
Oh, wow.
Like I should not have been in there twice a week because I was a dancer.
I'm sure there were a lot.
There was everybody. There was everything.
Especially young women in that time period getting in there.
Yeah, it was pretty fabulous. And I have to say that absolutely informed my aesthetic because it was anything went. The more outrageous, the better. It was a like performance immersive art on steroids. You'd walk in, and I don't know if you've ever seen pictures or there are a lot of docs about it. The bass was so deep and high from the music, you really thought you were going to have a heart attack upon entry. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And things are happening. People are dressed, they're not dressed, everyone's, and you just dance until, I wasn't even doing drugs. I just wanted to dance till they closed at like 5 a.m.
Those were my raver days too.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I've done drugs since, but there was a period where, especially in my teens, where like when I was in high school, I would go to raves, 5 o'clock in the morning. Everybody else was on drugs.
Yeah.
I was just there because I liked.
It's a natural high.
Yeah.
And it's about, it's about, dance is about moving and being moved, right? Because you're out of your head, you're out of your cerebral part, and you're in your body, you're in your spirit, your heart is all aglow, and you're really feeling it the way you want when you experience art, is what I can, the best thing I can say about that. So those two things together, I think, were super important. Also at that time, Soho, the gallery scene was just starting. And it was...
What this was 80s?
Yes, 80s, exactly. Early 80s.
Early 80s? Okay.
Early 80s. And I was super young. It was contained. It was only Soho and within a few square blocks. You had the openings at night, and it was social. It was art. It was all of that, Jean-Michel Basquiat. It was a very frothy, creative hub of an era.
And it was pre-Disneyfied.
Pre-Disneyfied.
It was still, Times Square was still probably a little gritty.
Oh, it was fabulous. Yeah. It was great. I mean, you didn't know if you were going to live or die. It was perfect. I loved it. And you could live as an artist, on nothing because life was cheap.
Yeah.
So it was those sort of days. I ended up going to college. I went to Barnard, Columbia University, and I got a BA in art history and English lit. And I thought, I've always been drawing. I'm always in the art world. I should maybe, and I was always designing clothes because as a dancer, you stare at yourself in the mirror all day long, looking at, how things fit, blah, blah, blah. And so I enrolled in Parsons. After I graduated from Columbia, I enrolled in Parsons School of Design. And there were so many great artists around me. And I said, okay, I'm not brave enough the way you are, the way your audience is, to have the lifestyle of an artist. And
you mean poor?
Yeah.
No, that was very, very diplomatically said.
Yeah. I wasn't brave enough, honestly. And I knew I could do it for a few years, but thereafter, I don't think I could withstand. You have to really stay the lifestyle course. Anyway, and I met a woman there, and we started a fashion design company because in those days you could, it was just super easy. And we started doing clothing for ourselves, and then we sold, and we were producing in New York.
What was the company called?
It was called Sphinx.
Sphinx, okay.
And we sold around the country. You had reps, which are like galleries, basically. Interestingly enough, it's not dissimilar to the art world where you do a collection or a series, right? Because you create this theme and then you have pieces that are variations on the theme, and that's what a clothing line is, and that's what an art collection is, if you will, right? And you do it a few times a year, and then you did it only a couple times. Now they have more. And you're very much thinking ahead of the market, because what we're wearing today is not what's going to be in the store. So you had to always project out what colors are going to be in, and this and that, and very forward thinking. But then, so we did that
and these are 80s fashions, right? I want people to picture.
Well, okay,
were there shoulder pads involved?
No, well, all right. Thank you for the segue. Thank you. Because then Reagan came in, and everything became super suiting, tailored, shoulders, that Dallas, not slant. I don't remember those TV shows, but I mean, it was day to evening, elegant, boxy. And our stuff was flowy and hip. And
even Miami Vice was like blazers and stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
those were cops.
Well, they were cool cops, I guess.
Propaganda, yo.
Yeah. So I said to my partner, I said, there's no way we can compete because basically we didn't know how to do that suiting. And and then China started rising as this economic force for cheap production. And I said, we were so young. And I said, we're really not ready to get a huge loan, go into debt and start producing in China and not knowing anything. And it was kind of, it seemed daunting. So we segued into, but that was part of me getting an entrepreneurial sort of bug. And then I segued into becoming a trends editor at a bunch of New York City women's magazines. Well, I started at New York Magazine, which wasn't women's. And then I went over to 17 magazine, and then I ended up at Cosmopolitan magazine. And I was, the trends editor meant that it was like, this is what you wear, this is where you go, this is how you move, this is what you should be watching, listening to, watch this artist's career burst forth, blah, blah, blah. And it was, again, looking ahead into what's coming because like fashion production where you're looking out, it's the same thing with publishing. I mean, now it's maybe more just in time, but then it was, you had at least minimum 6-month lead time by the time you close the magazine and then it hits the newsstand. So you're always looking forward. So
wow, I didn't know it was 6 months ahead of time.
Then it was, yeah,
wow.
At least. It was crazy. Now I'm sure it's way faster.
Just Shoot Me never seemed that.
What?
There was a sitcom about actually I think it was like,
what is it?
Just Shoot Me, David Spade in the 90s.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah. Anyway, it was the closest I've ever gotten into like seeing behind the scenes of a magazine like that.
Yeah. I'll have to look that up.
I mean, you don't.
Okay, good.
It's pretty
another
missable.
thing I don't have to watch. Perfect. So, is this long? And I've had a long history. I mean, it's probably, but I guess what I'm saying is, I always took, and I'll never forget, one day we're in a Monday morning meeting, all the main editors, and the editor-in-chief said, we need a new beauty editor. Our beauty editor's leaving. Well, what are you looking for? Well, she's got to be smart enough to get the job done, but dumb enough to treat it really seriously. And I thought, okay, my life is short here. I have nowhere to go. This isn't very interesting.
You've hit the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. So I went back, I applied to business school, and I went to Columbia Business School, and I did marketing there. And while I was there, this thing called the internet, I read a New York Times story, and what is this thing? It's coming, emails coming, blah, blah, blah.
What year is this?
So we're talking late 80s, early 90s.
Early 90s, okay.
And they said Hearst is a company that's starting a new division. Well, Hearst owns a lot of magazines, Cosmopolitan being one of them. So I wrote them and I said, I'm in business school. Can I intern with you? And I ended up staying on there post-graduation in business development. And my job was to bring the editors from the content side, right? So that was the creatives and online. And they were hugely skeptical because they were print people. And you have this new medium, digital, and they were like, what's in it for me? How are we going to, they had important brands.
I'm just picturing dinosaurs looking at the comet.
Right. Exactly. Well, by the way, it's not so dissimilar with AI.
Yeah.
So it's coming, it's here. How am I going to make the most of it? And how do I embrace it so that it makes sense for me? And my job was to figure out ways. It was very much, we used to call it like the wild, wild west. You didn't know who was in power, where the distribution channels were, what was content, because sponsors were making content, creative people were making content. And I was putting partnerships together that had to be win-win-win scenarios. You didn't know how to make money. Okay, I'll give you a piece of any transaction coming in back to the magazine. I mean, it was always in flux. And I really thrive on that. I like not knowing what's coming. Yeah, and also you get really creative on the fly that way. and you're looking at market forces and you're sort of predicting ahead, okay, what's happening? How do I get the audience engaged and make money and make it mutually beneficial for all, is the best way I can probably say it. So, and when I think about the art world, you have you have many constituents. You have the artists, you have the gallerists, you have the online portion, you have the curators, the collectors. Everybody's got to feel good in the end, right? So it is a partnership, and how do you keep that relationship together and bonded and not just a one-off transaction? I mean, I think very much along those lines. So that was that orientation, the beginning of that.
And what year was Parsons when you decided you didn't want to? You were.
It must have been like 85.
85. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, how long did you flirt with the idea of being an artist? Do you still identify as an artist? I mean, you don't need an MFA. You don't need.
Well, no, you don't. And by the way, I mean, if you've come to my house, and you should, I have art installations that I make everywhere, and people will say, "Oh, I want that." I just do it for myself, honestly, and they're high concept kind of pieces. It's not that I can paint or draw the way you can. It's more living. You'll see. I have installations everywhere, so it's very vibey that way, and I live in an art installation basically. Of my own design and other people's as well.
So you have other people contribute?
Yeah.
And what was that process like? Because it seems like, because I've had people on that are curators or gallerists that started doing art and then just kind of lost the drive to make it, but still really enjoyed collaborating and stuff.
Yes, I can agree with that for sure. I have so many interests, and going to business, I wanted to use all parts of my brain. And going to business school helped me with that. And I just was able to take, like I listen to all day long, I'm either listening to art podcasts such as yours or economics.
Do you have other ones you could recommend?
I have a huge list that I'm happy to send you.
Okay, perfect.
Because I give it to my students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm on that list?
Totally.
Oh, ooh.
100%. Yes. I'll make sure you're on top.
Okay.
And I also listen to, because I believe in taking business models from outside the art world to reinvigorate and innovate within the art world.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. So I moved to LA. I have a house now and I have walls, and big shout out to Julie Miyoshi, an art consultant extraordinaire, and Nino Meyer, who at the time, they were friends, and they also helped me start developing relationships with galleries and collecting. And what happened is I realized I was mostly buying emerging and minorities, and I did well. And in
terms of your portfolio,
yes, exactly. And
or collection. Not portfolio. It's not a stock portfolio.
Well, you know what? I mean, some people think art is like a, investment grade commodity, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't, but anyway. So, but I don't think you're wrong in calling it that.
But it was just something to notice.
Yeah. And worth noting. Exactly. Exactly.
That even I am like starting to think that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the high end pool, right? So, where were we?
So your collection started to do well?
Oh yeah. So it was, yeah. So, and then I I joined associations and organizations, and then somebody asked me to do a sort of little part of a larger auction. I said, can I do an emerging artists section? Because the ones you have are somewhat old and retiring out. And they were like, yes. So then from that, and that was only 3 years ago, the good people at Good Mother Gallery, Vanessa and Guillaume, they said, we'd love to work with you. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, I'd really like to put together an MFAs of LA show, because I love discovering new talent. I like seeing, what's coming out. I like supporting the community. As a collector, it's a sense of discovery. I know other people enjoy that as well. And for the MFAs, I thought it would be wonderful for them to have the opportunity to start showing, start a collector base, blah, blah, blah. And this is 3 years ago. There weren't as many opportunities as there are now.
Is Good Mother a nonprofit or?
They're for-profit.
They're for-profit. Okay.
Yeah, they're from Oakland originally, 10 years plus, and they moved to LA, I guess, almost 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they're on West Adams.
Okay.
A gorgeous, huge space. They're fantastic. So I combed, the MFA campuses. I started the first one I did. So it's an annual. It's every fall. The first one I did had our 5 central ones here. The obvious ones like USC, Cal Arts, Art Center, Otis, UCLA. The last one I did last fall had 11. So I branched out between UC Santa Barbara to UC San Diego.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And I had about 26 MFAs, 30 something pieces.
Is it an open call? How do you?
I curate.
You're doing studio visits up in
I'm everywhere.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So I would say on average every week I visit between 15 and 20 either studios or galleries.
I am such a lazy asshole. Wow.
And if I go to a school, I have someone there schedule me 20 minutes a piece and I'll see everybody in the program. I'm like this.
Wow.
I'm a road warrior. I am a tour whore. I mean, I can't stop. And I live in Venice. So Google Maps is my best friend because I have to sort of plot everything laboriously before I know where I'm going.
You just drove an hour to get here. I was like, what?
No, I do this all the time. It's nothing.
I just didn't think. I feel like coming here to my apartment from Long Beach is easier.
Perhaps.
Like I feel like the traffic is less because you're probably taking the 10 and that's a nightmare. Yeah,
I am. It's gotten increasingly horrific.
Yeah.
So my last show, just to give you an example, and chime in, of course, whenever you want. Yeah, good.
Go ahead.
So my last show, I don't want to do shows anymore of just pretty pictures. People come up to me and they show me, and I say, it has to have, yes, your personal connection, but it's got to have a universal meaning, and it has to work within what's going on today, the why, the now. And so last summer, while I'm putting together the fall show, I noticed that the market is heading south. And I say, okay, so what are the 2 factors that lead to a collector walking into a gallery? Because everyone walks in and says, oh, I love it, it's blah, blah, blah. But why don't they pull the trigger? Number 1 is too expensive. Number 2 is it's too big. I don't have room for it. So I said, okay, everybody, all my MFAs, we're doing 24 by 18 or 18 by 24, however you orient it, because nobody can tell me that that's too big. Yeah. They can fit that.
And automatically the price point is going to be lower too.
100%. And at that point over the summer, it was $2,000 and we're selling at $2,000, which was, when I first started curating, there was that formula, height plus width times 60. It's a sort of formula. It was under that, but I knew the formula wasn't working anymore because the market was, I've
never even heard that formula.
Yeah, it's
but that might also be that I'm not that active in the gallery scene until recently.
Yeah, there are lots of ways of pricing. I actually just did a class at Cal Arts on pricing.
Oh, wow.
Well,
we should maybe do a little bit about that later on in the episode. Yeah. Remind me to come back to that.
Well, I'll definitely talk to you about what I teach for sure. Yeah. No question. Because it all leads. It's part of this like crazy circuitous, but
I don't want to stop the flow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Keep going. Okay.
So
if you will, I mean, you won't know if I'm bored, but I don't feel like I've needed to drive the conversation. Okay. You're doing great.
Okay. By all means. And thank you. So I said, okay, everyone, it's going to be this price, same size, and even to sculptors and sculptresses, this is what you have to make it exactly. So no one can say it's too expensive, it's too large, because I understand it's too. I mean, I'm on my ceiling with my artwork, so I get it. And I understand, parting with money now. So like a month before we launched the show, I'm doing my gallery rounds, and I see that prices aren't selling the way they should. And I wrote to everybody involved, and I say, I'm really sorry to write this, but the market is really softening in real time, and I think we need to go down to $1,700. And everyone, I said, tell me if you have a problem with it, but everyone was fine. I mean, they're amazing. I work with amazing. I work with amazing artists. What can I say?
And then these artists are MFAs, so they don't necessarily have an established market where that would be a concern.
Exactly right. Although I have had before some pushback. I come from London, and my market was this. I said it's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
So what? And I said this, and I wrote in the press release, this is an experiment, and it was right before the election. So it was called All Things Equal. So it was about equality was on the ballot. It was the size was equal. The price was equal. Now it's at $1,700. And I said, this is an experiment. I want full transparency. I'm putting labels. Oh my God. I put labels with the price. I condensed, everyone sent me their bios and their mission statement. I condensed it because I have a editorial, background into 3 sentences. And I put the label right there next to the artwork. And even when a piece was sold, I put that little red pin in it. And I knew this was very déclassé and not like what I was accustomed to, my people were accustomed to. But I was like, we're going to do this. And Good Mother was
Why is that déclassé?
Well, you go into the white cubes. Nobody does that.
Nobody does that.
Nobody does it.
I guess when I think of François Ballet, they don't. Yeah.
Nobody does it. And it's exclusionary. It's elitist. Basically, what they want you to do, first of all, they're sizing you up. How real are you? Are you real enough to do that, walk of shame to the receptionist? Oh, can I have a price list? And not everyone feels comfortable doing that. It could be a little fear and loathing attached to somebody that doesn't understand how the art world works. So I wanted to make it really user friendly. And what I saw opening night, people leaning in, reading, they found points of, I can identify. Oh, this person's from Iowa. I'm from Iowa too. I sold out 40% opening night. Not one person had to go to find, which was impossible, Vanessa or Guillaume, the founders and directors, because they bought it right then and there, and they just made the transaction. There were no questions. It was really, talk about ease of use. And then the red dot, I think, psychologically made people buy more.
Yeah, because you see them vanishing.
Yeah, exactly right.
You're seeing it's the same thing with cars. When you see a bunch of cars in the lot, you're not as like.
Yeah.
Well, when I see a bunch of cars in the lot, I'm like, oh, maybe I can get it cheaper. Although I would never buy a new car, but the scarcity
value, exactly, and what I was able to do, yes, the big collectors in LA, they came to the show, they didn't come to the opening, and they want bigger, more substantial pieces, but they were happy to see, I have to start looking at this school, because I included a lot of schools that are off everybody's radar. But what did happen, a lot of new collectors came into the pool because it was so user-friendly, and they found points of interest, and it was affordable, and etc. So that was sort of what I wanted to accomplish there. My big thing this year is to find, there's a huge delta between the number of galleries and artists and collectors. It's like this. And I'm working very hard to find new collectors. And I'm going to start teaching collecting at the business schools. And I want to just get it a little more balanced, because it makes me sad when everyone's working so hard and things don't get sold.
Yeah. What are things that people should think about in collecting? Like, what would be the like on the syllabus? What would be like the main bullet points of the year? Or, I'm guessing it's like a semester.
So, You're saying from the artist's perspective, like what should they think about?
Or no, or just for the person you're teaching the class to,
The collecting class or the artist class?
The collecting class. So you're teaching people about collecting.
I'm going to start, yes. What I want to do is I want to take away the mystique.
Okay.
And I want them to get really comfortable with the idea of entering galleries and studio visits and knowing what to ask. Because, all right, so right now, the number of billionaires has tripled since 2010. We have more billionaires than ever before. And we know that it's going to be the biggest wealth transference of ever, right? So the people are dying or leaving their money to the kids. That's our capitalism, dollars working, and policies. And they're not necessarily buying old school art at auction the way, the older people, were going for the master. So how to engage new people. I mean, I lived in Silicon Valley. I sort of skipped over that part for 3 years in Palo Alto. And they did not collect art. It's crazy.
The tech bros don't seem to be very cultured.
No, they don't care at all. And what happens is, first of all, their brains aren't wired that way, number one. Number two, art and culture is a distraction from them, IPOing and making their gazillion dollars on their tech app.
Disrupting.
Right, disrupting. Exactly right, exactly.
Lyft and Uber.
Right. So, and then once they do make it, right, they have all this money. And some art consultant or a banker comes in and says, you need to start spending or putting your money into these investment assets. And they sort of leapfrog over the community of artists and they go straight to Basel, Switzerland on their private jet. And they don't come back and look forward, and then they get to hobnob with their own peeps, and they're not in their community. And, the thing I love about LA is our community. And I think we have to give back to the community, and we have to help support each other. And it's so generous. So they're not spending money there. So if I can educate and encourage with enthusiasm early people in school, and make it super fun and friendly, then they can grow up and start having the relationships with the artists in town. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, the business school thing.
And if you know any people in business school, let me know, because
Oh no, I'm a lot. But
I'm asking everybody.
Yeah. No. What is interesting to me about that is that when I interviewed Tyler Park, he was also, he was saying that he one of the life-changing things that helped his gallery was he took. I think he paid $1,500, he said, and then half of it was paid by his parents and then half by his employer.
Yes, the marketing class or the business class.
Yeah, but business. So it's why is that in a separate school?
Well, exactly. Okay, so to your point, perfect.
Yeah.
So to your point, what was happening was I'm forming all these relationships with all these MFAs all over and emerging artists, because I am. And they're calling me up, the emerging and the MFAs, and they're saying, can I ask you something about, what should I do and how do you think, and blah, blah, blah. And I typically say, come, we'll do a beach walk, because I live near the beach, because I don't like to sit and talk or eat or drink. I just like to beach walk for the most part and pick up garbage. So I make them come and do that. And then I was mentoring one-on-one. And I said, well, this is inefficient. I should be codifying all that I've learned from all these kind of, different crazy industries and put it together and help the students. And interestingly enough, I did not get, I went straight to the teachers for the most part in the MFA. They were, they're very church and state, to your point. I mean, so we have a lot of fabulous creativity coming out of the art schools. But it was a student that had, that formed councils and formed, these extra nights to bring me in as workshops and to teach. And so, I've been doing that. and we go over, goal setting, creating your narrative, your story through line, how do you differentiate yourself to what else is in the market? Galleries, collectors, consultants, studio visits, emails, newsletters, maintaining the relationships. And then I talk pricing, I talk finances, and I talk about the future and where I see the future going. And what I typically do is I talk for an hour, we'll do questions, and then I set up studio time thereafter, or they come up to me, and I see everybody, so they all know that.
Are you doing this as an adjunct or?
No, I'm not even affiliated with the schools.
So you're just doing specific courses within schools. Is it like a workshop one off, or is it?
Yes,
or it's
not
a
workshop one off.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
cool.
it's
well,
4 to 5.
Send me your next one, because I definitely need to learn all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
You just said something that I kind of feel weird if I don't ask. What do you think the future is? Like, in that context of the future of art, where do you see things going?
Okay. I think that we know that the investor base, this past month, we know that there were 2 big reports that came out. And even though the top tier, so we're talking, the 100,000s, millions, has come down, I think it was like the overall was 12%. I think global sales came down, but it was mostly a percentage of the top tier. It was mostly because the auction numbers are public, but the auction houses also do private sales. So their private sales went up, and those numbers don't have to be declared, but the auction numbers came down. But what they did find was that 75% of all transactions, so not in terms of dollar amounts, but numbers of transactions, 75% were 5,000 and under.
Oh, okay.
So that's huge. So it's a huge, for the emerging artists today coming into the market, that's a huge upside. And it means that new markets, new collectors are coming in, right? Because they're buying less, they're buying smaller, they're buying things that they resonate with, as opposed to it's an investment grade opportunity for them. So maybe it's more decorative, maybe it's, but it has to, they're buying it because of the values that it brings to them and makes them feel. So I will say to artists today, all things being equal, well, for instance, you saw my Spy Project show?
No, I didn't see it.
Okay.
It was closed when I went to Tyler's.
Oh, okay. So it's all about engagement, and it's all about reaching people in different ways. And the Spy Project show, so Pietro Alexander, who's the founder and director of Spy, he went to my last MFA shows. He's like, this is brilliant. If you ever want to do anything difficult, I'm your gallery. And so like a month or so later, I said, I have a difficult idea. And I had been at the Getty Museum, and I had been in the small drawings room, and I saw an emaciated older man drawings. It was Paris Salon, 1870s, and it was a Seurat and a Rodin and somebody lesser known. I don't know if it was the same class, but it was obviously the same time. It was the same guy. He had a long beard with his hair in a bun.
Oh, wow.
And and different perspectives on this guy. And I said, that is such a cool, the MFA programs other than Laguna, they pretty much did away with live nude drawing.
What?
Yeah. So you can maybe get it in a BFA program. This is what I'm told.
Why did it fall out?
Because I think things became more conceptual and more from you. But Laguna is very, very, figurative. The sister to Laguna, and I actually introduced the 2 principals together in New York as New York Academy of Art. But anyway, so I said, I'm going to find a male model, not a good-looking hunk, not from, Hollywood.
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, sorry, I would have asked you, of course. But I'm going to find, and I found an older fabulous. I mean, this is what he did. This was his job, and he had such dignity, integrity, and he was great. Jonathan. And I'm inviting 14 artists,
One of them was Nehemiah.
Nehemiah, who's been one of my MFAs since he started at
Yeah.
UCLA. He's been in all
that
my
guy's on
shows.
fire.
I love him. Love him.
I've tried to get him on the show. He's so busy though.
I'm seeing him in 2 weeks, so I'll mention it.
Oh no, I don't want to.
no.
I don't want him to feel like I'm pressuring him. It's one of those things.
He's amazing.
I'll throw out an invitation to somebody, and then I'll maybe check back in later. But I don't want to I don't want to hassle somebody. So
no, don't worry.
It's one of those things where I'm like,
he's a wonderful speaker too. I've seen him speak at Deitch, and he's incredible.
No, the guy's a genius.
He's a genius.
Yeah. No, he's the real deal for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
especially painting at the scale that he paints. Like it's not one of those things where you sit around and wonder why he's doing well.
No. Yeah.
You know why he's doing well.
Yeah, he's extraordinary.
Yeah.
On many counts as a person too.
So what other artists did you have in that show?
He was one of the few. I had only a few painters. I had Marley White. She was waxing metals and doing sort of X-rays. I had Chris Joss doing 3D printing. I had Ever from Charlie James doing collaging. I had Masha from one of my CalArts sculpting. I had Lita Albuquerque. So I really tried to get, I had a day spray painting. I really got like a huge array, and I invited collectors to watch the process. So it was 2 hours on a Sunday, and so it was a two-hander. It was 2 hours on a Sunday. Collectors could come, and I remember saying to someone, "This is my idea of heaven. When I die, I want this." We're paying like 70s music, and he's up there naked, and everybody is so tuned in to focus. And collectors were able to sort of weave through. Pietro built a beautiful dais, and weave through and ask and talk to, it wasn't, I asked some artists that said, you know what, I can't do it. I need to work alone. I can't, because they had to turn it around in 10 days.
Yeah.
And that had to be, gallery ready for a proper opening. So it was really, so the idea was, how do I engage? And by the way, people have told me that 3 other galleries have like knocked off the process, and I'm fine with it. It's fine. I'm happy.
A good idea is a good idea.
I'm happy. But I wanted to engage collectors so to unveil, because usually you just go see it on a wall.
Yeah.
So, and they were like fascinated. And then
it's
they
somewhere
got
in between a studio visit,
Yeah.
and going to an opening
and
you get
a
to
studio and a real live painting,
session,
which nobody does. So and I worked really hard those 10 days, or it was basically a week, because then we had to hang it, going into the studios and making them the best they could be. And it was great. It was all things Jonathan. It was incredible.
All things Jonathan? What do you mean?
Jonathan the model. Because you walked in, it was like Jonathan in every which way. It was like, I said, Jonathan, you have to come to the opening. I don't think he ever had as good a time. He was celebrated. It was really fun. But I speak to that because I'm thinking when you say about the future, how do we keep on engaging collectors so that more and more have a stake in the process and then feel really connected? And one thing, of course, is, technology. So yes, a lot of artists now are using AI. I mean, that's a given. I have one that uses AI as a mentor that checks
Keeps
in
you
every
motivated,
day. Yeah. I mean, unbelievable. There are these apps now that I'm finding quite interesting. One is Glyph, where you just mentioned studio visits. And I'm actually meeting with the founder in New York next week. You can schedule, it's sort of like Open Table. You can schedule studio visits online and off.
Glyph.
Yeah. And another one is Go with Yamo, where you can actually, because people are finding there's a dearth of real creative criticism, and people are scared.
What does dearth mean?
Lack thereof. Yeah.
It was one or the other.
Yeah. You got it. Absolutely. So there's we have criticism, but it's not really.
No. I we've covered that on the show with a couple people. It is a crazy thing where there is not that, but then everybody hates divacore too, which is like, well, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know who's behind Diva Corp. So, I mean, so this is an interesting, go with Yamo. It's interesting. I think it's only in London now, I think it's London based or New York based, sorry. And you're a member, and you can, as a member, go into a gallery and leave a critique.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's only for the members. So that I find very interesting. Another one I find interesting is Gertrude. It's finding a hole in the market. So, Artsy used to be you as an artist can be on, and you as a gallery can be on Artsy. Now the artist, it's only gallery driven. And it's kind of a curatorial approach to art. And the opposite is Saatchi, that has every artist on it, So this is curated. His name is Will Jarvis, and he's curating a certain select pool. He's out of London, but it's global because it's online. It's just starting. So these are all interesting ways technology. I'm a big believer. I think that what are they called? The blockchain. Mm-hmm. I think that's coming for sure. There's no question. I think it's deeply unfair that if I buy a work of yours, let's say, this, and let's say it's 2,000, but then you spike up, you become red hot and fabulous, and that at auction it becomes 20,000. You only get the initial money, and you're not getting residual, upside, and like a songwriter would, etc. And you're the whole creative thing. So I think the blockchain, it's not a 1 or 2 year proposition. I think it's more 5 to 10, but I think that's going to help keep track and give artists their due, which I feel strongly. I just heard, speaking of technology, I just heard that some of the mega galleries are, they have facial recognition technology at the door. And it goes directly to the receptionist, and the receptionist says, this person spent $1 million here last night. It goes directly to the director who's sitting somewhere in the back. They come running out, looking calm. I don't know how true this is, but this might be coming.
Yeah.
Or if you're some schmo off the street and nobody gets up for you.
Yeah.
So these are things that are happening. I think collaborations, because life is so expensive. So you'll see artists collaborating more, which I think is more interesting, honestly. And I think galleries are collaborating more. It always makes sense. If you have one gallery in LA, you should have an affiliate in New York and or London,
As a gallery or as an artist?
As a gallery.
Okay.
So you could share artists. You see like Blum does it with Mendez Wood, and they can populate the planet with one gallery, with pooled marketing resources. I think that makes a lot of sense. They have different locations, and they get to sort of bring it up together in different ways at different fairs. I think collaborations. I think I'm really into this idea of the artist manager. This is just sort of taking off. I'm talking about it a lot to people, that because you as an artist have to be more of an entrepreneur now. And this is what I teach very much in my classes. It's about, the marketing is not a bad word. With social media, that you have to do it yourself. The galleries, even if you were to sign with one, expects you to do that work as well. And if the gallery's not going to, pony up the way they used to, because they need more artists in their roster, because they need to sort of spread the risk, then these artist agents are coming in, and they are bringing up artists in different ways. So it's just not in the gallery, it's in the public art sector. It's in...
What's the public art sector like?
Like a big public installation. Okay. Or I have one MFA who's now graduated, and she works with one, and she's going to be in hotels now. And one was on a TV show with the artwork. So they're all different ways of coming out an artist. And I think that to really be successful, you have to think, that global 360 degree in all different ways. It's not just two dimensions on a wall anymore to really,
Yeah.
get that public notice.
Do you work with any artists that have reached the level of needing a studio to help them produce the work and meet the demand, or are you staying mostly with the emerging set? Like I would I would imagine that at some point Namaya's demand is gonna outpace his ability to produce. Do you work with any artists like that? Are they kind of leaving your realm of preference to work in?
No, I come up with them.
You come up, so you still work with them once they're doing well.
I'm really everybody's mother, basically.
I need an art mom, so.
Yeah, I'm an art mom. I have a son. He won't listen to a word I say, but everybody else is like, oh, you're, because I come at it at different angles, and and I push people to do bigger and better and more, and I find that they're very grateful, and I want everyone to succeed. I want every art piece to find the right home. It's so, as a curator, I mean, it's interesting. A lot of galleries tell me that curators, they just do a show, they want to do a pretty show, and then they leave. I tour everybody. I do. Nehemiah did that fabulous piece of Jonathan as a surfer dude. He wanted to find, in his words, he wanted to bring out the youthful quality and proudness of, so he put, Jonathan, the model, on the surfboard on Malibu Beach. And I literally wrote emails. I found 7 or 8 surfing associations and schools between Malibu and one of the beaches, Hermosa Beach, and I sent out emails with the picture and his bio saying he's hot, he's fabulous. Do you have a surfer who collects, who might be interested? So it's really, it's marketing out of the box, because you want to find the right person who's really going to appreciate it. And I grow up with them, and a lot of them say, will you help me curate this? Or I'll find a space and I'll pull in the right people. It comes in at so many different ways, and it keeps me super interested.
Yeah. First of all, it's awesome that you listen to the show, because you know so much that I'm excited that you get anything out of this.
I do.
No, I appreciate it. I'm like, I've literally have not had to do anything this episode.
Was that a good? Well, you came actually when we sat down. Before we sat down, you were telling me that you were sort of drained, and there I ran.
No, but I love this. That is it's just amazing. Like, you really, I feel like we don't have enough time for me to get, because we're already.
I'm happy to come back, because honestly, I could keep on talking about the art world, and I want everyone to succeed.
I definitely feel that, and I'm not saying we have to wrap up. I'm just blown away by how much what people want to know. I think I've maybe asked 3 questions this whole episode, which is amazing. This is like the ideal setup for me. It's having a guest that knows this much. And it's one of those things where, like, questions pop up, but I'm like, I don't want to interrupt what she's saying. She sees it. I don't. I don't know what she has to say. But so for me, questions about, from an artist perspective and about getting placed in collections, is there a concern if you're getting into collections that don't have prestige, or are there pitfalls? Are there collections you don't want to be a part of? And obviously there are collections that will, like, if you get placed, will definitely do something for you, right?
Yeah.
But is there like a situation where, like, oh, maybe that's not a good look to sell to this person?
No, first of all, you don't have to tout everybody that you sell to. I think you need to make money. Money is energy, and money is a tool to freedom. Mm-hmm. So you want to sell as much as you can, and you want to get rid of your old stuff, so that it's not like getting damaged in your basement kind of thing, which I see all the time. You don't want to be emotional and hang on to it. And if somebody wants to pay you, you absolutely set it out into the universe. And, a lot of collectors buy in cabals, which is what I also teach in the class. So you could be hanging in someone's house, and someone else could see that. And your collector is your biggest advocate, right? They want to buy into your hero's journey, and they want to help support you. And you need to cultivate that. I mean, so they're excited enough to spend a couple of $1,000s or whatever buying your piece. And then they might, spread that enthusiasm to somebody else in the room that, happens to be at their dinner table. And then, so you never know what happens. And you have to think long term. I've seen connections come. I'm very strategic. I mean, to the point like that Nehemiah story, I really zero in and think, all right, who's the right person for this?
No, that's what caught me.
Yeah, and I'm very strategic in other ways too. I really put people. People can tell you. I have other stories, but that's maybe for another time.
You put people what in their place, or
I know I put them in front of the right people. But I think at this point in time in the market, you just want to keep on selling it, and you want to keep on creating art, and you want to have the money so that you're not worried about money, so that you can keep, we don't want people getting disheartened and and worried about money and then exiting the system, the art ecosystem, disillusioned. We need artists today.
Yeah.
So we need everyone to feel bolstered, and that's why I'm so committed to finding new artists. I mean, new collectors for the artists. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the Red Baruch episode.
I started to. Yeah. It was very interesting.
That was fascinating to me because, I don't know this stuff, and so it's interesting. I see the artists that work with him, and they're super high quality artists,
Yeah.
But then listening to him describe it as how he got to where he was with the monetary thing, right? Like you can't get there without it. But so his whole thing was that he started off doing vignettes, and it's interesting how that he basically was saying that he ended up turning interior designers into art advocates or
Yes.
art advisors, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that these
That's
are all
no, you have to come at it from different angles, 100%. And that's a list I'd love, because there is a distinction between art advisors and decorators, for sure.
Yeah, but it's just interesting, like there's just absolutely no business education that I got.
Nobody gets that
at all. So,
and I get resistance from the faculties often.
Oh yeah,
I really do, and I'm amazed, because the idea of launching an artist after spending a lot of money, possibly going into debt, into the art market, you don't have the time to flounder and flail because life is so expensive. So I'm actually giving everyone sort of a head start so that they could hit the ground running. That's my hope.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm kind of excited that you that you like the show.
I love it.
No, but you
have just great guests. I mean, I'm not talking about myself, but other ones I listen to all the time.
No, but it's just it's refreshing to me. I told you I've been having a little bit. So I guess I should be transparent. So my friend passed away, and it's very hard to be motivated. And all the things that I really care about are less engaging. The only thing that I've been able to really do is draw. And that's kind of what happened when my dad passed away a couple years ago. It's just like
so it's cathartic for you.
And also, I after that, I remembered I had John Plupchuk on the show, and he was saying that the most productive times were when he was emotionally destroyed. So, but I feel like you have an energy that I don't think I've had a guest on the show. Like with your energy, with your ambition of basically what I'm getting from this conversation is that at one point you decided that you didn't want to struggle, but you also didn't want other artists to struggle. So that is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
I feel loved. Is that weird?
I love that you feel loved.
Art, I feel like as part of a collective of people,
yes,
I feel like you care about us.
I totally 100%. Yeah. I don't want any. I want. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
And I'm honored that you invited me to the Spy Projects thing.
Oh, and I have new ones coming. You'll come.
All right, for sure. And I definitely want to I want advice for myself too. So
Well,
I would
absolutely.
we should set it. I'm thinking either two things. I'm thinking I would like to hang out with you and do a beach walk.
Perfect.
And then maybe once I get farther ahead with stuff, have you back on, and then we can maybe talk about what steps we put.
Great.
Because I think I've been doing the show in a bit of a vacuum. You mentioned sponsorships and stuff like that, and I have kind of hit a point where I'm just exhausted, in terms, and obviously grief is piling onto that, and I mean, it's not like it's a lot of work, but it's enough work to do the show. This is
a labor of love. You are loved. But you don't see the people. But But they hear you, and I think it must feed something inside for you that's very profound. And I would be honored to do that for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. So then, I guess we're at an hour. You've talked for like an hour and I've done nothing. So thank you so much.
That's what I do.
You carried me this game,
Awesome. Happy to.
Just completely demoralized and loss of like momentum, and you just came in here and gave me some hope. I'm telling my mom about you.
Oh, I'm so happy. Oh.
Thank you so much, Leslie. This is like, I'm not even pretending to hold back the emotions that I'm feeling that are underneath it, and then the hope that you're bringing me is pretty.
Oh, thank you.
It's like perfectly timed.
Good.
I almost didn't. I was like, I don't want to do this. And then I was like, it's Leslie. It's going to be fine. It was better than fine.
Great.
So, okay. Big question. It's coming. It's the last question that I always ask.
I forgot.
What have I not asked you? I mean, I haven't asked you much, but what is your parting shot here? What can we leave people with that, and what can you leave me with that will help people kind of, because I think, all right, let's assume people are past the resistance to the market or branding or, marketing, all this terminology that it gets poo-pooed in the academic world, right? Because we're academics and we don't sell out, even though we're part of massive institutions that are literally selling out right now.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
And to me, that myth of the hungry artist is really toxic. I've internalized it.
Yes, I had too, actually. I had to fight that.
Yeah, and I think I think that I'm more than happy to platform you more than once in a year if this is what you got from me. Seriously, this is like and anybody that you think I should talk to. I'm also interested in talking to collectors. So if you got anybody that you think would be good to get that perspective, I think that. It's kind of like politics nowadays where like the artists resent the galleries and the galleries don't necessarily resent the artists, but the artists don't know that,
It can be, but I'm really hoping, I love the power shift away from the galleries and onto online and the artists taking control. And I would leave you with that.
Yeah.
I would say that you have a lot of the power as an artist. And to think that mommy, daddy gallery is going to come and save you, don't even think that way anymore. That's a really historically, it's not how it is today.
It's antiquated.
It's totally antiquated. And there are so many, I do teach, ways in the real world, IRL, in real life and online, how to take the initiative. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and LA is a great place for that.
Just like talking to someone like you, I've gone through all this work of interviewing a bunch of people to learn this stuff, and you just dove in and learned it like more directly because of your past experiences, that learning skills that you could take from there and apply to this.
Yeah, but to your credit, I had to think about my past, and in retrospect, because I knew your first question, and I thought, okay, this led to this. So I had this long preamble of a history because I'm older than most people. And also I understood, it seems circuitous when you're going through. It's like,
No, I
but-
followed you. Yeah,
but yeah, there's
yeah.
a steady stream there, so it made sense.
Yeah. No, and it's I mean, it is a mystery that I think you have a lot of answers to that artists could use. So thank you so much for doing this. This is like, I'm gonna bounce back, I think.
Yeah, I know you will. Thank you.
Once it feels like my heart's not ripped out, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Grief is one of those crazy things where you just kind of have to go through it, and
You do. It's a process.
Yeah, and you can't really do anything to quicken it up. But
No. Be in nature.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So you come, we'll do a beach walk and we'll pick up trash and we'll talk.
Sounds great. No,
Okay.
That's the thing I'm looking forward to most right now.
Great.
Anything that we can promote for you? You're at Leslie Fram. Is it
Les
just
Fram,
Les
LESFRAM on Instagram. And I have a bunch of things coming up, but nothing to
promote?
at the
no
moment.
worries.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Well, and thank you for tracking me down. Like,
Yeah.
so it feels nice to be reached out to and invited to stuff. And then when it's somebody that is like working so hard and has such genuinely nice intentions for artists, it's so weird. It's such a like, you're not trying to exploit us.
Yeah.
You don't want free labor from us. Like
Yeah.
that shit is so like, that's not normal. You are not normal.
Okay. I'll take it.
In a good way.
Yeah,
This is like
I'll take it.
No, that's amazing. So
Okay,
anyway, and thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the show, like and subscribe, comment. Let us know anything that I need to come up with better calls to action. Let us know what your favorite part of what was the most useful thing that you got out of this. I think that's a good call to action.
I'd love to know.
Yeah. And what did I not ask? Because I didn't ask very much.
Okay.
But and then we got the Patreon that really helps us out. And
I was going to ask you about that Patreon and Substack.
Yeah. Well, Substack I haven't done yet. Is that that's
We'll
writing.
talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
later.
Okay. Well, and then we'll be back next week with another guest and another topic that may or may not be art related. Thanks again.
Thank you.